What if the greatest misunderstanding in modern society is how we see women? Not as they are, but as we've been told they should be. Strong, but not too strong. Emotional, but not irrational. Beautiful, but effortless. For centuries, women have been shaped by expectations that weren't theirs. And when they reject those roles, they're called cold, difficult, dangerous. Ever wonder why love feels like a trap? Why connection feels fleeting, and relationships feel more like power games than intimacy? Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's the lie. The lie that men and women are the same. That love is pure. That gender doesn't shape how we desire, compete, survive. But what if, underneath every failed love story, there's a deeper truth we refuse to see? Schopenhauer saw it, and he didn't flinch. He believed love isn't a fairy tale, it's a biological illusion, that men fall for an image, not a person. And that women, they've always had power, just not the kind men could understand. Men build empires. Women shape the men who build them. It wasn't a compliment. It was a warning. Because women, in his view, weren't passive. They were precise. Masters of survival. Experts in emotional strategy. Strong in ways the world never gave them credit for. So instead, the world called it manipulation. But ask yourself, is it manipulation? If it's the only power they were allowed to have, is it strategy or instinct, weakness, or the most misunderstood form of strength? When a woman stops asking for permission, the world starts calling her too much. Why? Because female power disrupts the roles everyone was trained to perform, and nowhere is that more obvious than in modern dating. Ask any successful woman. She's been told, be strong but not intimidating. Be independent but still act like you need him. Be smart but not smarter than him. It's exhausting, because the real message is this: we want women to be powerful, just not so powerful that men feel weak. And Schopenhauer saw it coming. He warned that when women no longer play the roles written for them, men raised on romantic illusions will feel betrayed. They won't say, she's brilliant. They'll say, she's difficult. Not because she is, but because no one taught them how to love a woman who doesn't need saving. And the cruel irony? The stronger a woman becomes, the lonelier she might get. Not because she's broken, but because the world still demands she pay for her power. History proves this. Marie Curie, a scientific genius whose brilliance was overshadowed by the discomfort she caused in a male-dominated field. Marilyn Monroe, celebrated for her beauty, discarded for her complexity. Oprah Winfrey, admired and feared for the same reason, her unapologetic power. Why is it that when a man is powerful, he's inspiring? But when a woman is powerful, she's threatening. If men and women truly are different, as Schopenhauer argued, then maybe the real problem isn't inequality, it's denial. Men chase ambition, conquest, and the future. Women, shaped by survival, master the present. They build their influence through intuition, relationships, and emotional awareness. Not because they are lesser, but because they were never given the privilege to dominate openly, and that makes their strength harder to detect and harder to defeat. Is that manipulation or strategy? Is it deception or evolution? We celebrate men who change the world, but we ignore the women who quietly shape the men who do. What if love isn't love at all? What if everything we call connection, romance, or soulmates is just nature pulling strings behind the scenes to make sure the species survives? Schopenhauer didn't believe in love stories. He believed in strategies. He argued that love is not a miracle. It's a trap, a biological illusion that tricks us into thinking we've found the one, when really we've just found someone who fits nature's plan. Men are drawn to youth and beauty because they signal fertility. Women are drawn to strength, status, and protection because they signal security. It's not poetry, it's pattern recognition. And here's the disturbing part. The more intense the attraction, the more likely it is that biology, not compatibility, is in control. But we don't see that, because we're wired not to. Men pretend to care about connection when they want sex. Women pretend to be emotionally invested when they want stability, not always consciously, but consistently. Love becomes a performance, a beautifully dangerous one. Men say, "You're the only one." Women say, "I feel safe with you." But behind those words, he wants to sleep with her. She wants to feel secure. They both think they're being honest, but both are negotiating without saying it out loud. Is that love or instinct wearing a mask? And when love fades, it's not betrayal, it's biology doing its job. Once reproduction or stability is achieved, the spell lifts, the fire cools, and the illusion shatters. We don't fall out of love, we wake up from it. Poets called it heartbreak. Schopenhauer called it evolution. And here's the twist. The more you believe in forever love, the more painful it feels when reality sets in. So maybe the suffering isn't because love failed, but because we expected it to be something it never was. Schopenhauer believed that morality was never neutral. It was a tool, a weapon of the weak to survive or of the powerful to justify control. And when it came to women, he didn't believe they were moral because they were pure, but because morality gave them leverage in a world that denied them direct power. They couldn't fight with swords, so they fought with principles, not to deceive, but to survive. They were told to be humble, self-sacrificing, nurturing, not because those traits were divine, but because those were the only traits allowed. So women mastered them. They became fluent in emotional influence, not to manipulate, but to stay alive. Modern society celebrates gender equality, but still punishes women who lead with strength. We tell women they're free, but when they stop performing femininity, they're called cold, bossy, unlovable. Why? Because power in a woman still scares the system. Schopenhauer warned us, as women rise, society will not become peaceful. It will become confused, because for centuries, women ruled from the shadows. Now they're stepping into the light. And many men, raised to feel superior by default, don't know how to handle that. They don't respond with respect. They respond with resentment. Not because women did anything wrong, but because the illusion of control is cracking. So what now? Schopenhauer didn't offer hope. He offered honesty. He believed that most relationships were built on mutual illusions, men projecting fantasy, women adapting strategy, each side pretending, each side negotiating behind a mask. But what happens when both masks fall? When the man stops idealizing and the woman stops adapting? When both stand raw and self-aware, not as saviors or enemies, but as equals in complexity. That, he said, was rare, but possible. Not the end of conflict, but the beginning of real connection. Not romance as fantasy, but love as mutual truth.